Hello and welcome to this edition of Ringside Digest. I'm your host Kirk Day, along with my co-host Noah and Nick Miller. And today we're going to go over all the games that happened yesterday in the playoffs, April 18th. Big day for the road teams. Most of them won. I think all of the road teams won, and I think all the underdogs won as well. So it's a few big games there. We also got some news involving some stuff that happened in those games. Possible suspension, some pretty scary injuries, and I mean, there's a lot to go over. So without any further ado, before we get into this video, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more stuff from us. Now that the playoffs have started, I mean, the game so far have been pretty good, so we're going to have a lot of content going over everything that happens, all the stuff that's going to happen, and predictions, analysis, and everything, all of it. So if you want to see it, make sure to subscribe. And now, without any further ado, we're just going to go straight into our first game of the night, which was the Rangers versus the Devils. Now, this game, I gotta say, it was pretty even on everything except the score sheet. You know, the Devils kept up with the Rangers for the most part, but the Rangers just keep happening to put the puck in the back of the net. The Rangers were also 2 for 3 in the power play, which, I mean, was a big factor in this game because I believe they were the first 2 goals of the game, so that kind of just shifted a bit of momentum. And also, from the Rangers side, it was a fantastic game by Igor Shesterkin. He's back to his last year's playoff form. He looked really, really good, and this is going to be a good series, I can tell from this game so far. What do you think about it, Noah?
Yeah, you're in the playoffs when Chris Kreider is scoring. I think he had 2 last night, and he had a couple chances at getting a hat trick. So you gotta give all love to Chris Kreider there. I think he's actually tied, or if he is the leading goal scorer now for the Rangers in the playoffs. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, with guys like Gretzky and Messier and all the legends that they have. And also, I got to give some love to Igor too. Phenomenal game.
Yeah, I gotta say, the 2 missed power plays for the Devils in the first period, the opening minutes of that game, really shifted the momentum, I felt like, to the Rangers to be able to, they're not on the top of their game to start this game. Like, we're going to capitalize on our chances, and the Rangers did that. They looked ready, and the Devils didn't.
Yeah, sure. And now, with that, we're just going to go over the second game. Probably one of the most anticipated game of the night was the Lightning versus the Maple Leafs. Now, the Lightning won this one 7-3. And I don't think anybody really thought it was going to be this difference of a leaning towards game. I mean, the Lightning pretty much embarrassed the Leafs this game. But for Leafs fans, I don't think there's a need to worry yet. I don't think there's a need to panic. It's only the first game. You know, a bad game will happen like this. Even though it's at home, still, I don't think there's a need to worry. I mean, Tampa scored 4 of their 8 goals on the power play, which obviously, I think that was probably the killer for this team. I mean, 4 goals on a set, some teams scored that in a game, and they got 4 power play goals. And it's also part that the Leafs goaltending wasn't fantastic this game. Samsonov didn't play very well, even though now he was also announced to start Game 2 today by Sheldon Keefe. And, I mean, you also got that hit from Michael Bunting, which we will go over later, which is a later topic. And we also have probably Nyes filling in for the next game. So, I mean, I think the Leafs will have a big turnaround game next game. If they don't, I think that will probably be the start and time to panic. So what do you think about that one, Noah?
Yeah, I got to talk about the bottom 6 for this series. I really truly think that's going to be the game changer here. You know, Corey Perry last night was by far the best player on the ice. I think he had a goal and 2 assists, 2 primary assists. So I mean, I'm a big fan of Corey Perry, but he was by far the best player on the ice. Another thing, going back to the bottom 6, got like Corey Perry, Pat Maroon, Pierre-Edouard Bellemare. That's their 3rd or 4th line, I do believe. They were all beyond noticeable, and they played so much better than is it Aston Reese, Sam Lafferty, David Kampf, I think is their 3rd or 4th line. So I thought that they played a phenomenal game. And another thing I just want to put out there, I know Nick's a big fan of Justin Hall. If you want to count the power play and the penalty kill, he was a -6 last night.
Yeah, no, I'd argue with you that Justin Hall was the best player on the ice for the Tampa Bay Lightning, to be honest. He was brutal. I don't know how they keep putting him in the lineup when Timothy Lilligren's rotting away there on the bench. That's crazy. And you also got a guy that you brought in for the power play in Erik Gustafsson, and you don't play him. So I don't understand. Sheldon Keefe will continue to amaze me, but the Leafs never really had any chances 5-on-5, like any high danger chances. Like Tampa Bay was very good at limiting their scoring chances 5-on-5. And aside from that little tic-tac-toe pretty play by Marner, Matthews, and Järnkrok there. But I don't know. The Lightning may have some issues, though, coming up with Hedman as I think Hedman's a game-time decision, and Cernak is out for Game 2. Yeah. So another thing is the Leafs are changing the lineup for Game 2. Matthew Nyes is going to be in, so that's going to be interesting to see what he does.
Yeah, it's a long series. We're going to have to see what kind of changes they make throughout, so we'll see. And with our third game of the night, it was the Jets and Golden Knights. Now, I'd say this is probably the most unexpected game of the night. In this one, the Jets won 5-1, and I mean, they did exactly what they needed to do. They held Vegas to 17 shots of the game and only 2 in the third period. And it was just a very strong defensive game by the Jets overall. And they did what they needed to do, and you can see they came up with a big win here in Vegas. So, I mean, I found a fantastic game for the Jets. If they continue to play like this, I mean, my prediction might be wrong, so I think that's pretty much what the Jets got to do. They got to keep doing that, and they will succeed in this series. So what do you think about this one, Noah?
Yeah, if you watched our playoff predictor, I didn't have much faith in the Jets. So apologies to any Jets fans, but they looked very good last night. Their defensive game was extremely solid, and I think they, like you said, they only held Vegas to 17 shots, which is for the team, the caliber of team that Vegas is, that's unbelievable. Another thing, Connor Hellebuck, like you said, the goal 17 shots. He did that's a low amount of shots, like I said, but he was still great between the pipes last night. Like he's a guy you can rely on in a 7-game series.
Yeah, I like that we saw the resurgence of Kyle Connor last night. We had a little bit of a down year for his standards, but Kyle Connor had the opening goal of the game, I think, and the Jets just played like a perfect road game. They just, I mean, you can't have 17 shots in a playoff game and expect to win. So Vegas has got to work on that for next game. But if the Jets keep playing like this, I can definitely see the upset happening. I mean, and like you said, Connor Hellebuck was stellar between the pipes, but like 17 shots is just not enough for Vegas to be able to win this series.
No, especially on Connor Hellebuck, you almost need double that and even more. So like he's not one to be beaten easily. So I mean he's going to be a big factor in that series, I think, going on, even if they do have only 20 shots a game. And with our fourth and final game of the night was the Kraken versus the Avalanche. This was also one of the unexpected games to say. The Kraken win this one 3-1. And I'd say a big reason for this win was Philip Grubauer. I mean, he had 34 saves on 35 shots. And, I mean, the Kraken as a whole just didn't let Colorado's offense, their stars, really do much this game. They could break out, but they couldn't really get much on the offensive side of it. So I think this is a fantastic game for Seattle. And, I mean, similar to the Jets, this is the way they're going to have to win. They're going to have to just beat out a game, play great defense on a star-studded team, and just fill out the ice. You got to win and make them this way. I don't think that Seattle don't have many stars. They won't have the opportunity to be like an offensively beautiful game against a team like Colorado's. They're just gonna have to get the ones they can if they want to win this series again.
Mm-hmm. In the playoffs, goalies can steal multiple games in a series, right? And this is a prime example. Philip Grubauer was, like you said, stood on his head. I think he faced 35 shots, and I think he saved 34 of them.
Yep.
So, phenomenal game for Philip Grubauer. Another thing, Seattle did a very, very, very good job of shutting Colorado down. I think McKinnon only had 1 point, and Rantanen scored. I think it was Rantanen assisted by Byram and McKinnon. No points for Cale Makar. In this stage of the game, that's a very, very hard thing to do. So, all the credit to Seattle here.
Yeah, it was the night of the underdog, and the Kraken love to play that role. Like, I mean, I love the Kraken's team, like how depthy they are. I just didn't think they'd be able to do what they did last night to Colorado. They smothered them, and I mean, Philip Grubauer, he proved me wrong. You guys know, I wasn't very high on him before this series, but he did it to his former team, and like the Kraken, I'll say it again, they played the perfect game. And, like, they're not going to beat the Avalanche in a high-scoring game where it gets out of hand. They've got to keep it like it was last night. You beat the goalie with the first goal of the game on the road, silence the crowd, and you keep it low-scoring. That's exactly what Seattle did.
Yeah, and also they're on a very physical team. They had average, I think it was in the regular season, 22 hits or 20 hits a game. Last night after the first period, they already had that beaten. They had like 22 or 23 or something, so that's going to be a very big part of this too. You're going to want to hit the stars, obviously no dirty hits, but you're going to separate them from the puck. That's the only way you're going to be able to do that for guys like McKinnon and Makar. I mean, they skate too well to be able to you only use your stick. So, I mean, if Seattle keeps up like that, it could be a very different series than what I'd say a lot of people thought.
Yeah. One other thing, this just got very, very interesting. Seattle just took a game in Colorado, which means they're going to have to go back with game on them. In Seattle, in a new arena, Seattle sports fans are unbelievable. I'm a diehard Seattle Seahawks fan, and their fan base is phenomenal, and I have every reason to believe that the Kraken are not gonna be any different. So could be very, very interesting. 7 games if it goes 7 games.
It could possibly. And now that the game's over, we're gonna go over to the news side of it, and Michael Bunting is likely to be suspended. I mean, this came out from the NHL player safety earlier today. Toronto's Michael Bunting will have a hearing on Wednesday from an illegal check to the head / interference against Tampa Bay's Erik Cernak. Like I said earlier for the Leafs and Lightning game, this was a completely unnecessary play at this point in the game. I think there was just no need of it. And Michael Bunting comes up straight under, no puck in sight, nowhere near any part of the body that was not the head, and just lays Erik Cernak out. It obviously was a major penalty. I'd say a suspension, probably 1 game as well. I mean, that's due for this. What happened here? There's no right place for that at that time in a playoff game, especially. And that's, I think, on TSN they said this morning, 4 of the last 6 years a Leaf has been suspended in the playoffs. That's not helping your chances of getting out of the first round. I don't know how else to say that. You can't make those plays on that time. But what do you think about this, Noah? I mean, I don't know. It's just
yeah. You could run back the tapes from all the old videos. The amount of times that I say you need this type of guys in the playoffs, I say it all the time. But just wow, it's what is Bunting doing in this situation? It's a clear headshot. We all know the Department of Player Safety is an absolute joke. But if Bunting doesn't get at least 2 games here, I think it's time we step in and go see how George Parros is doing, because something's not right.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna say it's probably a game. I get what Bunting is trying to do. I get that he's trying to get under the guy's skin, but in this situation, you got to have more control over where you're hitting, and who you're hitting, what you're hitting. You know what I mean? They can't have him go out there and do this again. He needs to, if he's not suspended, which he will be, he needs to be benched the next available game he's in. Because you have players that thrive on doing the kind of thing that Michael Bunting tries to do, which is that grit role, a little
Look
bit.
At Kadri too, right? Kadri was there as well. Did the same thing.
You might say Marchand is the guy that he's trying to be or whatever, trying to get under the guy's skin and do whatever. Marchand knows when to do the things that he does. He's been suspended more than anybody in the history of the NHL, but he's never been suspended in a playoff series. Never. Right? You can't do that, especially when it is wrong what they've been doing to Bunting with the refereeing this year. That being said, he does dive a lot, so it gives him a little bit of a reason to be that way with him. And if you know that they're going to be like that with you, why are you doing stuff like that? Why are you costing your team? That 5-minute penalty, I'm pretty sure the Lightning scored 2 on that. Or no, 3. They scored 3 in that whole sequence. I just don't get it. If you're Michael Bunting here, what an idiotic play.
Yep.
He's hurting the team.
Yep.
Yeah.
And with our final story here tonight, we have Morgan Barron had quite a scary injury last night. Took a skate to the face. You can see by this image going down on for a puck and trying to squeeze one in. I mean, absolute dog play, but goes into Laurent Brossois' skate. Pretty scary at the time. I mean, I didn't really see what happened at first until he was skating to the bench and they showed the replay. But it wasn't easy. He got 75 stitches afterwards, and he came back to the game with a cage and a bandage. Absolute dog play, though. I think he said when why he did it, or what happened, how did he feel. He just tried to score a goal. He just wanted to know if they scored. That's such a hockey player response. But I mean, I hope he's okay. He looked okay. He came back to the game. So, but I mean, good on him. Trying to get a goal for your team might cost a bit of blood, but I mean, it worked. So big win out of him.
Yeah, if this doesn't show what a true hockey player is, I don't know what does. The ability to get in the room, do what you got to do, and so much drive and energy to get back out there and help your team compete and help your team win. Absolutely phenomenal. Love it. Love to see it.
At the same time, this is the most dangerous part of our game when the skates come up high on guys like that. You never want to see that. A couple inches down, and that could be the end of his hockey career right there. An inch or 2 down, maybe a few centimeters. It was really close to his eye, right? So we've seen people get hit in the eyes before and have their careers ended. And I think Manny Malhotra tried to play with one eye for a little while.
He could not.
And yeah, and Chris Pronger was just, I mean, that whole thing is just scary about Chris Pronger. So I'm glad he's okay. I'm glad it hit him where it did, if it was going to hit him at all. Like, at least it didn't is ruin his hockey career. But what a dog, what a player.
Yeah, it was definitely a dangerous area, but he's okay, so it's all good. And just before we end it, I'm going to go over tonight's games. Same matchup from Game 1. The Islanders versus the Hurricanes. Panthers versus Bruins. Wild versus Stars. Kings versus Oilers. And, I mean, I hope it's as good as it was the first night. All games are fantastic, so I'm sure they will be again tonight. But that's all we have for this video. So if you like it, make sure to like the video. Also, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more content from us all around the playoffs. We have the draft coming up soon, the draft lottery especially. That's going to be exciting. I know you guys are Montreal fans, so, they're down at the bottom. But, yeah, so if you want to make sure to see all that kind of stuff, make sure to subscribe. And thank you for watching, and let's go Wild.